Edgar grew up in a millionaire's family, but he was not happy. And since childhood, his father was unreasonably tough on the boy, restricted him in everything, didn't allow unnecessary spending, and suppressed any mischief. Even the most innocent pranks and mischief were instantly punished. The father kept a watchful eye on the mother, Mary, so that she would not dare to spoil her son. The boy went to an ordinary school, was modest and no different from his peers from ordinary families. In fact, Edgar was Mary's son from her first unsuccessful marriage. For Mary, this union was not a marriage of convenience, because then her new spouse was not yet so rich and just going through his formative years in the business world. That her estimations betwinkly factors at Ciel and could never accept the boy as his own child. Every day he chided himself for being strict and promised he wouldn't nag, but it happened again and again. Nicholas treated Edgar coldly, devalued any achievements, and constantly demanded more. Plus all his childhood, the boy tried to earn praise, to bring a smile and pride to Nicholas, but every time he received only criticism. As Mary silently watched the useless efforts of her son, but didn't interfere, as she herself had already come to terms with her husband's steely character. Edgar didn't know that he was not Nicholas's biological son, and hoped that one day he would be able to win his father's confidence. But from his childhood, he still had memories of his father's endless reproaches, and even his mother's all-encompassing love could not sweeten this bitterness. Even when Edgar was 25 years old, and had already graduated from the prestigious High School of Economics by this time, Nicholas still didn't notice him, and didn't believe in his abilities. One day, after a long and persistent persuasion, the businessman decided to give his son a chance. Edgar had to perform the duties of the director of one of the subsidiaries for 3 months, but business was not very good there. The guy almost jumped with happiness and promised to make every effort to bring the company out of crisis. He was very happy with the trust given to him, but he didn't know how bad things were in the branch. In fact, the office was making losses. The HR department was constantly struggling with turnover. The workload was piling up, and employees were leaving, and their responsibilities fell on the hunched shoulders of their remaining colleagues. Edgar showed up at the office with a bright smile, a pile of files, and in a perfectly tailored suit. The young man roughly understood what he would face, but the desire to prove to his father that he was worth something outweighed. First of all, Edgar analyzed the situation in the branch, created a strategy, and started to implement it. Next, Edgar talked to the staff, and then analyzed the productivity of each employee to give everyone a push in the right direction. Some employees he was able to inspire to show their best qualities. Others he demanded unquestioning obedience. But with some others he was soft and friendly. The new head was able to gain the trust of the staff. Even the old-timers, who were initially skeptical about the appointment of a young guy and openly bet on how long he would last, got quiet. But Edgar's plans to take the company out of crisis gradually became a reality. Attain on the way to the goal, Edgar had only one loyal companion and cheerful person. The girl's name was Joyce. She worked as a cleaner and knew all the employees well. Joyce was such a pleasant and friendly person that everyone wanted to listen to her, so the guy fell under her spell as well, and only in her company he used to find solace after failures. Edgar only knew about her that she had studied for 3 years in the economics faculty and then had taken an academic leave of absence. "You always listen to me," Edgar once said softly as the office staff went home, "and I don't know anything about you. If you need any help, please just tell me and I'll try to help in any way I can." Actually, the situation is such that only a miracle can help. Joy sighed sadly. "My mother is sick at home. She needs a surgery, so I had to go to work. The salary is much higher here than where I worked before, and the schedule is convenient. Atinix and Prosfield plants died a few years ago. Then our problems started. My mother got sick, and I left education to take care of her. That's the story. I'm sorry you have to cope with everything alone. You're very strong." Edgar was confused. He had no idea Joyce had such problems and felt sad because she was so young and fragile. "I do not retract my words, and I'm ready to help just as you are helping me. That's what I liked about you. You're not at all arrogant as everyone expected when we were told that the boss's son was going to head the branch." After such frank conversations, which could last for a long time after the end of the workday, the young people felt a certain connection. They didn't become close friends overnight, but entering the building every morning, Edgar felt inexplicable joy when he saw Joyce's smiling face. At Tedefnustri, despite her lack of a degree, Joyce was well-versed in economics and gave sensible advice. In her fatigue, the man tried to relieve her of some of her obligations, but she categorically refused. Joyce didn't want to be obliged to anyone and take advantage of her boss's kindness. And meanwhile, things in the subsidiary were getting better. The new head was not only able to keep the business afloat, but also competently led it to success. Nicholas had been watching the progress closely. Nicholas had been watching his son's work all this time. The man was skeptical about Edgar's venture, but had to admit that he seemed to have done very well. The guy worked tirelessly, not caring for himself. He often had to stay up late and spend the night in the office, but the results were worth it, and Nicholas decided to put his son to the test again. He contacted Edgar via video quick call and told him that he had found a new partner, the cooperation with whom promises huge profits. Nicholas presented the news in his favorite manner, ironically expressing doubts about his son's ability to close the deal. The man was especially pleased with the confused expression on Edgar's face. This is inwardly exulting with joy that he had managed to put the guy in his place. The businessman smiled maliciously and passed out. The new partner was Mr. Stewart, and in the business community, he was known for his cool temper. Thus, only the most weaselly and calculating businessmen could try to become his companions. Hector didn't flatter himself. Despite his achievements, he realized that there was still much he didn't know and could not do. He was not afraid of his father's threats, believing that he was deliberately trying to throw him off. Since the company's financial indicators of success had risen, and the atmosphere in the team became friendly, the guy was no longer eager to win Nicholas's recognition. All he cared about was the development of the company. Mr. Stewart had a reputation as an exemplary family man. Being a father of 3 children, the man preferred to do business with married businessmen, believing that a man who cares about the family would treat the business in the same way. Edgar understood that until he found a suitable candidate for the role of his wife, there was nothing to even try to cooperate. But the only thing on the guy's mind was Joyce. He felt warm and comfortable near her. She could give valuable advice, support any conversation, and had a good sense of the situation. She knew when to keep silent and when to act. She didn't show off her intelligence, but also didn't hide it. Knowing that no better candidate could be found, Edgar asked Joyce to play the role of his wife during the negotiations with the businessman. The girl was at first confused, but then laughed merrily. The whole situation reminded her of a scene from a cheap melodrama. But realizing that Edgar needed help, Joyce agreed. All the remaining days before this business dinner, they discussed how to behave and rehearsed a lot so as not to get into an awkward situation and not to spill before the shrewd Mr. Stewart. The day X came, and at the appointed time, the couple approached the restaurant. Joyce was in a luxurious white pantsuit, emphasizing her fragility, and her appearance caught the eyes of all men. At dinner, Edgar was very nervous, and the girl tried to draw attention to herself so that the guy could pull himself together. At first, the conversation didn't stick. Mr. Stewart was silent and didn't hide his skepticism towards this idea. But while the men were ordering dishes, the ladies quickly found common ground and the conversation livened up. Joyce considered it bad form to get down to business at once, so she started discussing secular news in a relaxed tone, joking, and periodically took Edgar by the hand, helping him to gain control. The guy finally calmed down a little and proudly admired Joyce's ability to carry on a conversation at ease. The girl even managed to make a couple of sensible suggestions that interested Mr. Stewart so much that he even complimented the charming wife of his future partner. Joyce skillfully avoided sharp corners and unobtrusively emphasized Edgar's leadership. When she was asked about her involvement in her husband's business, she answered that she was just a reliable partner. The guy looked at Joyce in love and jokingly reproached her for being modest. After all, without her, he would lose faith in himself. After dinner, Mr. Stewart signed a cooperation agreement. He, like his wife, really liked the young couple. Despite his little experience, Edgar was good at business, and the upcoming joint project promised good profits. Nicholas, hearing about the deal, could not stand it, and in the morning came to the office to find out how his son had managed to make a contract with Mr. Stewart. Edgar didn't hide his triumphant smile and introduced Joyce to his father, calling her his guardian angel. Nicholas was furious to know that some uneducated cleaner participated in negotiations with a respectable man and began to express himself without choosing words. But suddenly, almost for the first time in his life, Edgar firmly put a stop to all his father's reproaches. Dad, stop it at once. I have suffered enough from you for all these years. Mom told me everything yesterday, and now I know that I am not your biological son. But still, I love and respect you. Thank you for what you brought me up, and I really left all bad in the past. But I will not leave Joyce. Edgar took the girl by the hand and confidently looked at his father. Continued. She was sent from above and will be my wife, and I won't let anyone, not even you, hurt her or speak badly of her. The son's fiery, confused speech awakened something in the man's soul, arousing a keen sense of guilt and regret. Nicholas saw what a fool he had been and sincerely apologized for all the offense. As Edgar hugged his father and said that he had forgiven everything long ago, just asked to accept Joyce into the family. The girl's mother was operated on by the best surgeons. She quickly recovered and was able to rejoice in her daughter's happiness. After the wedding, Joyce recovered at the university and continued to study her favorite economics. Edgar remained in the top position in the company, and no one else doubted his competence. Dear friends, I hope you enjoyed this story.